All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the live stream to discuss Doc's improvements. Sid, wanted to say thank you to you for doing this with us. We really appreciate it. Really quick context for anyone who's watching. This is part of a Q3 OKR for the UX team to improve the documentation site. Part of that was doing user research to better understand the experience. And then the outcome of that OKR is going to be a roadmap of Doc's site improvements. So Sid, for you today, our goal is just like with our users when we do user research, our goal is just to hear your observations as a stakeholder so that we can consider them as part of that larger plan and part of that roadmap we're creating. Our only goal today is to listen to you, ask clarifying questions. So you may share things that we already have identified or may even be in process. We are not going to interrupt you to let you know that. We're just going to let you keep going because what we want is just to hear what's in your head. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Yeah, our docs are just a very important way for us to communicate with our users. We're an open source, open core company. A lot of our people are in self-managed installations, and the only kind of time they access our infrastructure is when they read our documentation. So I think it's a great chance we have. I think that our documentation is one of the best in the industry. It's comprehensive, it's well updated, and that is the hardest thing to do. So I think we already nailed the hardest thing that you can have. Does it cover everything, and is it up to date? We're doing awesome. I think there's two things we could do better at. We can have it look more beautiful, and that is a bit of design, but also like using different media. And I think, and that's maybe beyond the scope of this, but I'll mention it a few times. I think a lot of people aren't aware of all the features they can gain if they start paying for GitLab. So I think it can be a great source of incremental revenue as well. Let me walk through the documentation. This is the documentation homepage. I think this is great. It already looks a lot better. It has a request support button, which is great. I think considering that almost that like 80% of the traffic will go to this, I think this should be bigger. I think it's weird that this is more narrow than the other buttons and in a different format. I think that doesn't jibe with like the importance that this has. Also, Omnibus and charts are related. So it's kind of weird that the runner is in between them. And also this says install, use, and administer GitLab. And then this is to install GitLab, and this is to install GitLab. So, okay, I want to install GitLab. Which one of the three am I going to push on? And then this is a link, and here's a link to the entire DevOps lifecycle. Okay, it's the only kind of blue link here, so it kind of stands out a lot from the rest of the page, and it's probably not. I'm not sure. Yeah, describing GitLab is good. If you want to describe GitLab, maybe the whole thing could be a link, or maybe there should be an intro here somewhere. I think this is an attempt at an intro, and I'm not sure that the blue link is doing it. Anyway, let's go to the GitLab documentation. Poof. This is this doesn't look as good as the previous page. It feels cramped. It feels old. It feels like it would be hard to use on mobile. I'm not sure if this is how it looks on mobile. Let me refresh. Okay, this is better. So it adapts to the viewport, so that's nice. The on this page thing is nice. I'm not sure why there's a bar at the left as well. Oh, that's probably something that disappeared. Okay, so we have a structure for on the page. I'm not sure why it has a line at the bottom. If this is just the structure of the page, why does it have a line? Like, there's help. Because this section is the same. It's kind of like we're hesitating whether this is the end or not. I'm not sure that the line here is needed. Let's go into something. let's go into something that's popular. Probably GitLab CI/CD is popular. Great. There's some additional information. Like, yeah, I get that this is information. We're in the docs. I get it. It's information, but it's not cached. It's not poultry. And it's about GitLab CI/CD. I kind of got that. Like it's the GitLab CI/CD pipeline reference. So maybe we can just get rid of this sentence. I'm going to learn about everything. This seems cool. I was expecting a lot of warnings here, and they're not here. So, oh, there we go. There we go. Finally, they're coming. We got notes and tips. I think every single thing that is a note could just be a sentence. And if you want to highlight it, highlight it. But why say note? Have a little I here. It's information. I get that. I wasn't expecting a dollar bill here. I was expecting information. I guess this is also information. I'm a bit tongue in cheek now, but we're not going to put an I everywhere we have information. It's not helpful. So every note thing can be gone. Now we should highlight some things, but look at this. Like this is a table, and then there's a single sentence, then there's a note, and then there's 3 sentences, there's a tip, then there's an additional note, a header, a sentence, a sentence, a sentence, a note, a thing that says it's an example, which I can clearly see. So, but okay, then a tip, then a sentence, like it's over the top. We shouldn't, like if you highlight everything, you highlight nothing. And note is kind of a, it's becoming a bit of a junk drawer. Like there's no criteria why something shouldn't be a note. So you can make everything a note, and then it just looks ugly. Whole page doesn't really like look great. And then there's no perfect documentation, but let's go to the checkout experience of Stripe. This looks more beautiful. Of course, like all beauty, it's hard to articulate why. So it's a much shorter page as well. Let's go to accepted page payment. We're still kind of an index page. Oh, okay. It also has a left menu and a right menu. I think we did great. There's no big line here, so we can remove that. There's a bit more white. I think this is a bit boxy with the gray things. Also, this menu bar, I don't think that's the future. I think the future is just, oh, that menu bar is there because this scrolls and this doesn't move when scrolling. Okay, so it's just because it's long. Okay, I can see that. It feels more crisp. It feels less cramped, more spacing even between the lines. My goodness, they have information things too. At least you don't have the note column thing here. And at most I can get 2 notes in view. So maybe it's already helpful to remove the note column thing. Maybe that's the craziest, the easiest fix, because we can do that programmatically across our site. It looks better and less cramped. I'm not sure. It's also a bit the color scheme maybe. It's pretty contrasting colors here. The notes here have like only a very slightly different background color to make them stand out, while here we use like very green. So maybe we should tone that down a little bit. Now I'm on thin ice with specific suggestions. And then we got some links to videos, and they have a YouTube icon. I really love that. I'm not sure what they do here. It's kind of the same. Yeah, I think so. Things that send out beautiful beautification wise. Background colors, like just make everything white. Note colors, make them more subdued, more subtle. White space is your friend. I'm sure I'd argue for a different font. This font does look nicer to me. Let me see what this is. How good of a web developer am I? Not very good, because I cannot tell which font this is. But it looks more beautiful. This looks like Arial or something you'd get by default. Cool. There's a question to open the OpenShift Docs, which is an example of good docs. Philippe, you want to talk to that?
Yeah, sure. So I was sharing that because I think the OpenShift Dock is the most comprehensive doc that I have ever seen. It's not only with regards to the design, there is something that is missing in our doc. It's the reason why you want to do something. And I clearly understand it has nothing to do with design, but I have to say that. Most of the time when we write doc, we write something like on this page, how to create a persistent volume. And here you can see the difference. The page is named how to persist data or something like that. So instead of saying, if you want to create a persistent volume, do this, they start by explaining, if you want to persist data, maybe you might want to have a persistent volume, and this is how you're doing this. So they explain why you want to create a persistent volume in the first place. That's missing in so many places in your doc. It's kind of impossible to get started with something that you don't know. If you know exactly what you want, the doc is great. If you don't know why you want, for example, to use the operation dashboard, I don't know. I think it's not great. And the second part is they have these small ticks, these small items next to the lines, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have references to these lines when you have multiple lines in snippets of code. This is something that we don't have, and that could be extremely useful for us. Does that make sense?
Sorry, what's the last thing you suggested, Philippe?
Yes, if you could just go back to the link that I've shared in the chat, to the anchor, just scroll down in the page. There we go. When you see these small round numbers, 1, 2, 3, see the path to move the volume inside the pod, for example, you see exactly what you're pointing to in the snippet of code. That is, it's extremely useful to have that.
Cool. Thanks for that. Anybody else? Feel free to respond, dismiss, clarify, or argue.
No, we don't want to argue. So I think what I can say is nothing you've said is surprising. We very much appreciate hearing what you are observing. We have observed these things too. This is not out of alignment with where we're headed. So that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, this has been great. Really appreciate it. It's also nice sometimes to hear someone else say the things that you're already seeing, because it's a good confirmation that you're on the right track. So this has been great.
Great, thanks for that. And I was talking about like the upgrade potential. Actually, this is pretty cool that we have this. I think the only thing I'd say is underline them by default so people know that they're clickable. And probably they now link directly to the pricing page. I don't think people have problems purchasing. I think if they click on this, it's basically like, hey, make a case for Ultimate Gold. Tell me what else is in there. Oh, I see now that trace application. I'm probably not going to spend $99 per user per month for one feature. So we should have a page that makes the argument for Ultimate Gold, and we should link to that instead of straight to the pricing page. Cool. Thanks. If there's Susan, you want to add to anything?
I'm very excited to get your input. None of it was surprising, and it's validating, so thank you. I would also like to say, in my experience as a technical writer and in UX, I've never sat down with the CEO to hear an opinion of the documentation, so I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. And I think, I'm not sure what's more popular, are the rest of our website or the doc side, but the doc side has a lot of traffic, so it's important. And it's important to me, but important to the company. And I want to close off by repeating something I said at the beginning. The documentation of GitLab is the most comprehensive and up-to-date documentation I've ever seen. I'm very proud of that. And that's the most important thing. The rest, what we talked about, is important too. We're going to fix it, but we're starting from a very good base.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.